Relations and Foundation Professionals. My name is Bob Martin, Assistant Dean for Internships and Careers in the College of Communications. I want to introduce you to three of my colleagues up here, and a fourth director, since she's been very engaging and interactive. Let me introduce Matt Soroka to my left here. Matt is a career coach in Smeal College of Business and formerly with Penn State's Bank of America Career Services, where he was Assistant Director for College and Employer Relations. We've got Meg Brower to his right, Director of Corporate Engagement for Smeal College of Business. And last but not least, Chris McGill, Senior Associate Director for Recruiting and Outreach Programming and Career Services. That's Penn State's overarching career services. So we want to welcome you to our presentation called Collaboration in Career Services. So as part of today's presentation, we're going to discuss the hybrid model that has worked so effectively in career services throughout the Penn State system. We'll also focus in on why and how career services and offices engage employers. And finally, we will provide best practices, opportunities, and direction moving forward for employers building relationships here at Penn State. But before we do, now we thought about this, we're going to take a little twist on how we approached our first presentation. I want to kind of ask you folks, what do you want to get out of this? What is there? What are your expectations? I guess is how I'd like to maybe start off. Is there something you wanted to get out of this presentation, or maybe what got you to join us today? Yeah, sure.
So I'd love to know like an inventory of ways we can engage, so that when I am talking to a corporation, especially if it's somebody new, I'm the Director of Corporate Foundation Relations at Penn State Ritchie Medical Center and College of Medicine. So if I'm talking to somebody new, what do we have up here, that I don't know about, and have that inventory in my toolbox so I can say, yeah.
Outstanding. We're going to be able to provide that.
Yeah, that's what
Sure. Excellent. Yes.
Yeah, along those lines, I think I'm looking just for more best practices. We just at Penn State Berks campus formed to be more intentional about our other partners on campus who engage with corporations. We formed a corporate engagement team, sort of a brand new thing. And career services is at the table, and academics is at the table, and outreach is at the table. And it's new, and we've been looking for more handles, ideas, best practices, how we could work together. So
Excellent. Great. Anyone else?
I'm curious to hear how you work because we have such a strong recruiting program, and we've heard from all the companies how much they appreciate our students and the talent we can offer, and you're often the first point of contact. So again, ways that in turn you can work, that we can work with our offices and our colleges to start making those connections and maybe broaden those relationships since they already have such a great appreciation and are working with you with our students.
Great. Great. I think we can start there. I wish I could find my clicker, that's all.
It's in front of the podium.
Is it in front?
Yes.
Ah, when I moved. There we go. Great. So we made formal introductions here. So we talked about what we're going to discuss today, but these are all things that I think you just brought up that are interests of yours. Are there any other comments, questions?
I'm new to the university, so I just wanted to see what the career services landscape looked like here, just to inform
Sure.
myself.
That's great. So why don't we begin by talking about the hybrid model, okay? You've heard us mention that. It was mentioned in the initial address by Mark. And there's one of my panelists here want to begin by talking about it. Chris, perhaps you can start us off.
Okay, I'll start. Well, I think in our world of career services, nationally, internationally maybe, there tend to be sort of two ways to look at career services on a campus. You're either centralized or decentralized. And both of them have their issues. And so because we sort of had originally maybe more centralized, but with the growth of the colleges embracing of the career services functionality, we became maybe decentralized. We're kind of trying to find an identity, and what we landed on was, let's take advantage of both, since we have both. And so instead of trying to just determine one structure, we decided to blend them and have a hybrid model. So what that entails, and I even think the reason that it was able to be embraced by all of us is, it entails that we know each other, so it's about getting to know each other and spending time together on things. So there was some structure created for us to engage in conversation about bigger issues across all of Penn State what do we need to do for our students and our employers to make sure they're connecting better? And then I think part of it is, at least centrally, we sort of look at each college is different. They need different things. They're at different levels of developing their own career functionality. Some have been around for ever since I've been here. Some are very new, and some don't quite exist yet. So we try to support where we can. The other thing we've tried to do is help with somewhat financially, like let's purchase things, and now when we purchase something, it has to be accessible to everyone at Penn State through every connection in by a student, no matter how they're coming at the resource. And so we try to leverage that as a central office so that others don't have to deal with it, and hopefully savings of monies across the board, because we're making sure the contract allows everyone. Because of course, when people see Penn State, they think they can sell it, 28 times, because every campus and every college and everyone bought one. They're getting a lot of money from us and not quite sure what we're ending up with, really, a system that people have to log into from different perspectives. So we're trying to be smarter about that, and therefore makes it often easier for students and employers to navigate that. So we're trying to, when it makes sense, join together and all do something together. Where it makes sense, sometimes the different colleges and campuses are doing their thing because they're very unique to their students and their location in the Commonwealth. And trying not to pick and choose one or the other, but make a hybrid of the two. And that's what I think is the strength of it going forward. We got out of that conversation and argument that's happening on other campuses and said, why do we need to pick? We've got the best of it all.
I think to add to that, the only piece I think in the last session we talked a bit about this was kind of what does that look like? And I think from our end, we have a directors committee that meets and talks about a lot of those more strategic issues across the full system of Penn State regarding career development. We have a various amount of working groups, so some focusing on the job posting system, some focus around international students, a website that we use to help navigate new employers, some around career courses. So it's one of, we're thinking about how do we put this into practice, how do we come together around shared interests, whether it's a strategic objective of a college or a campus, or if it's more around a challenge we're seeing in the recruiting ecosystem that we have across the system. It's kind of how can we start to address this, whether maybe it's vetting of new employers as they come into our job posting system. So it's one of, as we put this into practice, we make this a key component of that operation, that it needs to incorporate representation from across the system. And that allows us to have a stronger reach and impact at the university.
I don't have a lot to add to it. I mean, Chris and Matt covered everything pretty well, but coming at it from a college perspective, it's all I've ever known since I've been in career services at Penn State. And it's really refreshing, because when we do go to, say, conferences and we hear the struggles of other institutions, it's nice to be able to sit there and say, yeah, that's not our experience. It's pretty refreshing, and I do my best to just maybe move away as I smile. But it's helpful, it's beneficial to know that if there is something that we can't necessarily help with, we know who we can go to. We know, okay, they are going to be beneficial in making sure we reach across campuses. And if you visualize it, it's almost like a beautiful spider web, or with just all of the connecting parts. And it really does work seamlessly, but we also do this, and we do think we have the best of both worlds, because we recognize how tricky it can be for employers to navigate the system, for students to navigate the system at times, for other units within the university to navigate the system. And so we really do make a concerted effort, and I think a very good effort, and I think we're largely successful at easing what can potentially be frustrating and difficult for employers. Is it necessarily 100% perfect all the time? What is? But I would say it is largely successful almost all the time.